Welcome to EssAnnPee Knowledge Series. In this episode, let's discuss on the topic, Contract and Contract Management Life Cycle, authored by S.N. Panigrahi. Certified PMP, Authorized Training Partner, ATP, Instructor, PMI, USA, Fellow Institution of Engineers, FIA, Chartered Engineer, Certified Lean Six Sigma Black Belt, Certified Lead Auditor IMS, Z Consultant, GST and International Business and Projects Consultant, Corporate Trainer, Mentor and Author, National Council Member, IIMM. First, let's understand what is contract. In business, a contract is an agreement between two or more parties that is legally enforceable, which establishes the rights, obligations, and responsibilities of each party and is legally binding. In an agreement, there are at least two parties are involved, a seller, or promiser or offerer, who makes a promise or offer, and a buyer who accepts the offer after negotiations. Once they make an agreement, both the parties promises to perform as per agreement, seller agrees to deliver goods or services as per terms of agreement, and the buyer agrees to make payment as per agreement. When a contract is legally enforceable, it means that the parties involved in the contract have a legal obligation to fulfill their agreed upon promises and obligations. For a contract to be legally enforceable, it generally requires the following elements: offer and acceptance, competent or capacity to contract, free and mutual consent, lawful object, lawful consideration, and it should not avoid under any laws of land. Contract formalizes the terms and conditions under which the parties agree to conduct their business or engage in a specific transaction. Contracts serve to protect the interests of all parties by clearly defining the expectations and provisions governing the transaction or business arrangement. Key aspects of contracts. Here are some key aspects of contracts in a business context. Agreement. A contract requires mutual agreement or consent between the parties involved. This agreement can be reached through negotiations, offers, acceptances, and sometimes counter-offers. Legal intent. Contracts must be entered into with the intention to create legal obligations. Parties should have a genuine intent to be bound by the terms of the contract and understand the legal consequences of their actions. Offer and acceptance. Contracts typically involve one party making an offer to another party, who then accepts the offer. This mutual consent is essential for the contract to be valid. Acceptance must be clear, unambiguous, and communicated to the offering party. Consideration. Contracts require an exchange of something valuable between the parties, known as consideration. This can be money, goods, services, or a promise to do or refrain from doing something. Consideration ensures that each party gains a benefit or incurs a detriment as a result of the contract. Terms and conditions. Contracts specify the terms and conditions that the parties agree to abide by. This includes obligations, rights, payment terms, delivery schedules, performance standards, dispute resolution mechanisms, termination clauses, and any other provisions that govern the relationship or transaction. Legal enforceability. Contracts must meet certain legal requirements to be enforceable. They should not violate laws or public policy, and the parties entering into the contract must have the legal capacity to do so, example being of legal age and mentally competent. Performance and non-performance. Once a contract is in effect, parties are expected to perform their obligations according to the agreed upon terms. Failure to perform as specified may result in a breach of contract, leading to potential legal remedies or damages. Remedies. Contracts typically outline remedies for breaches or non-performance, such as specific performance, compelling the party to fulfill their obligations, monetary damages, or termination of the contract. Contract termination. Contracts specify conditions under which they can be terminated, including expiration of the contract term, completion of the agreed upon tasks, mutual agreement, or due to breaches by one or both parties. Legal consequences. Failing to comply with the terms of a contract can have legal consequences. Parties may seek legal remedies, such as filing lawsuits, to enforce the contract or seek compensation for damages resulting from a breach. Contracts play a crucial role in business transactions, partnerships, employment relationships, vendor agreements, client engagements, and various other business activities. They provide clarity, establish expectations, protect parties' rights, and help manage risks associated with business interactions. Forms of contract. Business contracts can take various forms, such as sales agreement, partnership agreement, joint venture agreement, service level agreement, SLA, manufacturing agreement, purchase agreement, lease purchase agreement, licensing agreement, distribution agreement, franchise agreement, sponsorship agreement, non-disclosure agreement, NDA, confidentiality agreement, intellectual property assignment agreement, employment severance agreement, sales representative, agent agreement. These are some common forms of contracts entered in various legal and business transactions. It's important to note that contract laws can vary across jurisdictions, and specific requirements or regulations may apply to different types of contracts. Contract management. Contract management refers to the process of managing contracts throughout their life cycle, from creation, execution, monitoring and analyzing till closure or termination of contract. Contract management encompasses a range of activities throughout the contract life cycle, including drafting, negotiating, approval and awarding of contract, monitoring, and administering and supervising and overseeing of contracts to ensure that all parties fulfill their obligations and meet the terms and conditions outlined in the contract. The primary objectives of contract management are to protect the interests of the involved parties, minimize risks, maximize operational and financial performance, ensure compliance and optimize the value derived from the contract while satisfying the operational objectives of the contract and the strategic business goals. It also involves building a good contractual relationship between the parties involved and avoid litigations. Let's now discuss about contract management life cycle. The contract management life cycle refers to the stages or phases that a contract goes through, from its initiation to its closure or expiration or termination. It encompasses the entire process of managing a contract, including its creation, execution, monitoring, and closure. The contract management life cycle typically involves the following stages. Needs assessment and contract planning. Identify the organization's requirements and determine the need for a contract. Assess the objectives, scope, and desired outcomes of the contract. Develop a strategic plan for the contract, including defining goals, identifying stakeholders, establishing timelines, and outlining the necessary resources and budget. Contract creation. This involves drafting the contract, defining the terms and conditions, and identifying the parties involved. It requires a clear understanding of the objectives, obligations, and expectations of all parties. Include all necessary provisions, such as payment terms, performance metrics, warranties, and dispute resolution mechanisms, etc. Generally, organizations use predefined contract formats or templates. It's worth noting that while predefined templates are standardized and well-structured can significantly simplify and streamline contract creation, they should be treated as starting points and customized as necessary. Each contract should be carefully reviewed, considering the specific circumstances and the interests of the parties involved, to ensure that the final agreement accurately reflects their intentions and requirements. Negotiation. The negotiation stage involves discussions and revisions to reach an agreement with mutually agreeable terms and conditions that satisfies all parties involved. The goal is to ensure that the contract is fair, balanced, beneficial for all parties and legally complied. This can involve back and forth communication and may require revisions and modifications to the contract. Contract approval and awarding. Once the negotiation is complete, the contract may need to go through an internal approval process within each party's organization before it is finalized and seek necessary approvals from relevant parties, such as legal counsel, executives, or department heads. Conduct a thorough review of the proposed contract to ensure its legality, accuracy, and alignment with the organization's policies. Then the concerned parties to the contract need to sign the agreement with mutual consent to properly legalize the document by incorporating the appropriate agreed terms. Contract execution and administration. Once the contract is finalized and signed, it is important to manage the execution phase effectively. This includes monitoring performance, ensuring that all parties fulfill their obligations, tracking milestones, and managing any changes or amendments that may arise during the contract period. Performance monitoring. Contract management involves monitoring the performance of both the parties to ensure that they fulfill their obligations as outlined in the agreement and to ensure compliance with the agreed upon terms. This includes tracking deliverables, timelines, milestones, quality standards, payment schedules and key performance indicators, KPIs. Contracts may require regular review and reporting to track progress and address any issues or discrepancies, invoices, or other documentation to track progress, provide evidence of compliance, or support billing and payment processes. Risk management. Identifying and mitigating potential risks associated with the contract that may impact the successful execution of the contract. This may involve identifying potential risks, such as non-compliance, financial loss, operational risks, reputational risks and legal issues, and managing proactively to anticipate adverse impacts, implement strategies to minimize or mitigate those risks, setting up contingency plans or dealing with unforeseen circumstances that could affect the contract's outcome. Contract change management. Depending on the type of contract and its agreed upon terms, there may be a need for changes or amendments, modifications, renewal, renegotiation, or termination of the contract during their life cycle. Contracts may include provisions for managing changes and the processes, ensuring that any changes are properly documented, approved, communicated to all relevant parties and accordingly implemented. Contract compliance. Ensuring compliance with the terms and conditions of the contract is crucial. Ensure all parties adhere to the contract's terms and conditions. Monitor compliance with contractual obligations, including performance, reporting, regulatory requirements, and any applicable laws or regulations, obtaining necessary permits or licenses, and following specific regulatory guidelines, industry standards, confidentiality and data protection and address any breaches, and take appropriate actions to enforce the terms of the agreement. Contract closure. When a contract reaches its end or is terminated, perform a comprehensive closeout process. This involves finalizing outstanding obligations, conducting a contract review, settling any financial matters, archiving relevant documents, and conducting a post-contract review to capture lessons learned. Throughout the contract management life cycle, various activities such as contract negotiation, approval, amendments, and dispute resolution may take place as needed. Effective contract management during each stage ensures that the contract is properly administered, risks are mitigated, obligations are fulfilled, and the desired outcomes are achieved. Proper documentations are maintained, ensured compliance with legal and regulatory requirements, and fostered effective communication and collaboration between the parties involved. Contract management software and tools can streamline and automate these processes, improving efficiency and compliance. These tools often provide features such as contract creation templates, document storage, automated reminders, and reporting capabilities. Do you find the presentation informative and useful? If yes, then click like and also subscribe the channel for free to receive updates. Do not miss to watch the next video of the author Panigrahi on the topic Contract Negotiation Best Practices. Enjoy and click like button. Thank you. For more details contact EssAnnPee at the below contact details.